Hi, everybody, and welcome. Today, I have a very exciting guest. I have Buzzy Vickers here. And for those of you that listen to my Nurtured Heart family, all my siblings and my father talk about our story and how we got into Nurtured Heart, Buzzy was actually the one who was that very first trainer working with my sister who implemented the approach in her life. She also has a podcast called Khani's Story of Transformation. You can go look at that and hear more about the great work that Buzzy did there. Um, now we get to meet Buzzy and hear from her. So, Buzzy, thank you for being here. And I am just excited to hear your story. I actually don't know your story. I know a lot of your insight, a lot of your wisdom. I know that you help a ton of people on Facebook and in the groups, and when we do the meetings and stuff. It's always nice to hear from you. But I'm excited to get to know you. So, tell us a little bit about what life was like back in the day and what brought you into this approach and this work.
First, I have to say thank you for that introduction. That's was very meaningful to me. Thank you. I started the Nurtured Heart approach. I was a social worker at the time. I'm retired now, and I would go into family homes and our specialty area. Although we went from prenatal up to age 18, my specialty was actually all of it. But I would work with families in the home, and I had a very close connection to the school counselors. And I had a family that our traditional methods were not working, and their school counselor made a recommendation that they attend this 1 hour Nurtured Heart training. And I know that you know Stacy Lancaster, and Stacy was the one that did the training. And like I said, 1 hour, and the family's telling me we got, the school counselor says we want to go to this. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go with you, or I'm going to go, whether I'm with you or not. But I'm going to go because I want to support what the school is saying. So I went and I was hooked immediately. The family was hooked, and I started reading books, learning what I could read. I'm sure I picked Stacy's brain. That was a long time ago. She had other trainings. She had the 6 hour trainings, and I was able to get into those. The family did not take any of those trainings, but because the school counselor also went to a training, we pretty much were able to wrap that family around the Nurtured Heart approach, and had an immense change for that family. Getting it at school, getting it at home, me coming in and reiterating, establishing, confirming they were doing things right, and just giving them the support that, we saw how hard they were working. And a lot of times those were not the cases with families that were possibly involved at the Department of Human Services. They were hearing everything that they were doing wrong. So the Nurtured Heart approach allowed me to shift that energy and start focusing on what's that one small thing the family is doing right, and continue to establish that and grow on that. And, and then I just started using it with every single family that I was working with. And then my supervisor started saying, your families are getting done quicker than other families are. And at that point, I was able to train. So I was able to train my coworkers in the Nurtured Heart approach. So that's how I got started. My youngest son, my only son, my youngest child, was 16 when I started. And I think it helped me in a lot of situations that came up. My husband was the disciplinarian as far as, the grounding and all this. And that was working, that worked fine with all of our other kids, and actually was kind of working with him. But we found a better way, and that was the Nurtured Heart approach. And he's a risk taker and always has been. And so this allowed me to look at his risk taking skills and turn them around into how he used problem solvings to keep himself safe in some of the situations. So that's how I got started.
Wow. And how do you use it? How do you use it now?
Oh, daily. I mean, it's my life. I use it in phone calls with my son. I use it actually in a lot. But my hardest, and I will be very upfront, the hardest person to use Nurtured Heart approach with is my husband. I think everybody kind of finds there's one uh, relationship that's harder than others. And but here's a funny story about my husband. And we went to a nurtured heart, or we went to a wedding, and we're walking out of the wedding and we're going to go to the reception. And my husband says to me, "No talking nurtured heart." Okay, dear. Gotcha. So we get in and we sit down, and our places are right next to two other nurtured heart trainers.
Uh-oh.
Sorry, but I can't do that. I can't not talk because they're talking it. And that was many years ago. That was probably my second year of being a trainer. And it was so funny at the time. And then probably about a year and a half ago, we were someplace, I don't know where we were, but there was other parents or grandparents in where we were at. I think we were in a waiting room. And this dad was saying things to his son, and my husband turned and looked at him and said, "Do you know Nurtured Heart?" I was like, so he recognizes it, and I'm sure I'm using it with him, but he's always my hardest one to use it with.
Yeah.
So,
And
and
tell
I
us
use it with
about
my
your
go ahead.
grandkids.
Oh, I use it with my grandkids every day. I have six grandkids. The oldest is 9. The youngest will be 9 months in a couple of days. And I have two on the way. We have a set of twins that are on the way, which we're really excited about. But I really think that people ask me, when do you start using Nurtured Heart Approach? And it's when they're right here, when they're in your arm and you're looking at them and you're talking to them and you're seeing that they're taking their bottle and how great you are, that you're getting your nutrients, and they don't know what you're saying. I mean, we don't know that they know everything we're saying, but I think it's that connection. You're already building up their inner wealth where it's already becoming a habit to talk to them that way. My favorite thing with my oldest grandchild, the one that's 9 now, is when he was little and I would go down and spend a few days with him. And he'd had another little brother at that point. And so I would come in with my luggage, and he would, at 2, try to pull that luggage across the floor. And it was very, very heavy. And I would always tell him what a good helper he was. And when he was done, I would grab his hands and I would say, "Look at those hands. Those are helping hands." And then I would give him that recognition of how kind he was to use his helping hands and how much I loved him. And to this day, all of my grandkids use helping hands. So that's just one way of building that inner wealth in them, using just a small gesture that they can see and understand.
I love how you made that age appropriate down at their level. And I so agree and believe that starting with them in the womb, it's a way of relationship. It's a way of being in someone's life, that I'm here to see you and I'm here to be connected with you and I'm here to root for you and I believe in you and I know your greatness is there and I can't wait to see it and I can't wait to find it. That's an energy, connection. And I think that it's such a big shift from maybe where I was with my first baby, where I was just so scared of messing everything
Mhm.
up because I had a new baby and I was just always like, is he doing everything okay? Is he sleeping okay? Did he burp? Did he eat enough? And it's just like fear, fear, fear. Like, why are you making that face? You know, where nurtured heart at that age is like, oh, you're making that face. I love that face. Whatever it is, you're communicating, like, oh, like, let me hear what you have to say, like, I know we're good. We're good. We got this. Like, it's a different energy. And at this age, it's definitely all about energy. They're, like you said, they're not hearing my words. They don't know what I'm saying, but they feel that I'm believing in them. They feel that I'm excited. They feel that I'm smiling. They feel my heart, they feel that I'm into them, which is inner wealth, right? Like to
Yes.
that sense of like, people are into me, people care about me, people want me, people love me. I'm valuable, I belong here. I'm wanted here. That's like, that is inner wealth right there. I love that. I'm curious if we go back maybe to some of your beginnings or the stories of with how you were implementing it with these families, and your supervisor said, you're finishing your families faster than anyone. Like, wow. I am sure you have so many stories and examples, but I want to hear maybe a little more about how that went. Was there resistance? What was hard for you? What was hard for them? Um, and how you did see that serving them and moving faster. Like, What was the key? How did that happen?
I actually have some stories that I've been given permission to share. So I'm pretty
Okay.
careful. Like, not all my kids have given me permission to share stories. So I try to be pretty respectful of that. Um, I, One of the first families that I worked with after being trained, I was giving a training with a co-facilitator who was fabulous, and we just were a great team together. Her name is Shelley Smith. So we were doing a training in a small town near us one spring, um, late spring, early summer, and we were at the school, and the family that came in that's given permission for me to share said, our daycare sent us here. My child has been kicked out of, I think it was 4 daycares at the time. And she said, if you don't try something different, he will be kicked out of mine. And she had to do something. She got in the car immediately and called her mom in tears and said, Mom, I don't know what to do. They're going to kick him out. I don't know. I don't know what is going to happen when he goes to school. We can't control him. And her mom said, you need this stuff called the nurtured heart approach. She had heard about it somewhere from a friend, and we were through her mom and a bunch of other people, they were able to get this training set up in the school, and it was after hours. But anyway, we did this training, and it was fabulous. And after the first 3 hour training, it was a 6 hour, we did 3 hours and 3 hours. She came back the next week and she said, oh my gosh, this is what I've noticed. And she'd already seen changes. And it eventually, after the full 6 hours, she never called for backup from either of us, but she had some other supports. Her daycare lady obviously was familiar with it. Her mom was then familiar. But about 3 months later, we were doing another training session, and the grandma, the grandpa, and the dad came. So that child was not only getting it from his parent, his mom, but from everybody else around him. And they got the teacher that he had that year, they gave her books. They had me go in and talk to her one time. She never went through a official training that I'm aware of, but that child has never been kicked out of anything since they started using Nurtured Heart Approach. And she wrote me a beautiful little testimony that just said, this changed her life and changed her son's life. So that's one of my stories. And that was just from training. That wasn't me really going in doing coaching or, working with the family. So that was one of them. And I have another one. She's also shared with me that I can share the story. 2 boys going through a divorce. Mom had never been the disciplinarian. It was a very abusive situation. The father was an alcoholic, and the mom was on her own for the first time with these 2 kids. And they were maybe 7 and 11 at the time, is about right. And they were terrible. I mean, they would swear at her. They would tell her to, take a flying leap. She couldn't get him to school on time. The youngest one, when they were going to school, and this is my first real awareness of that negative energy as a relationship. It would take the mom, the principal, the janitor, and whoever else was handy to haul that kid out of her car, kicking and screaming every morning to get him to school. And what he was getting was all that adult relationship, all that focus on him. And so once we started focusing on everything that was going right in the home, and we started with her, she thought I was insane. She literally thought there was something wrong with me. We started with, I see your eyes are open. We did that for the first week. We didn't change anything else. I see your eyes are open. I see the covers are off of your bed. I see your foot's on the floor. That's where we started. And then energizing that. Oh, look, your eyes are open and you're standing up. Wow, you're really ready for the day. And sometimes it'd come back with, profanities at her. No, I'm not ready for the day. But she said, well, at least you're communicating with me. And that's how we started. That's how we built that family. And now she has repaired a relationship with an older daughter through Nurtured Heart Approach. Her oldest son that I was working with at the time, she has another son, and they've repaired their relationship too. But that son graduated from high school early. At one point, the principal called her and said, I don't know what you're doing with this kid, but his grades have changed and his peer group has changed. She never once told him she couldn't hang out with those, that he couldn't hang out with those kids. She just told him that you're capable of making good choices. So those are my two that I've shared so many times because the families have embraced it and said share it so more people can learn from it. I still get annual updates from that mom with the two boys, and it's just wonderful. And she said she uses it in her job, and she's just uses it. She said, I use it all the time. They've managed to withstand three, get a relationship with the boy's dad that is not abusive, that is not negative, but very clear parameters. And with the kids knowing that when they were younger, they knew if dad was drinking, they would call mom. That was it. And she had said, if you're drinking, the kids will not be there. So it was very much something she embraced and started using right away. And she said it saved their lives actually. So that's probably, just reliving that just makes me know that the nurtured heart approach can impact any situation, even the things that you think can't possibly have a positive result.
I'm so blown away by that story. I have chills up and down my body. I have never heard you say that story. So this is the first time for me, and it strikes me so much. And also, I know this about you, Buzzy, in the Khani story, my sister's story. This ability you have to find that nugget of baby step, like your eyes are open, the blanket's off, to help coach her to stick with that, and also to not change anything else, to just change that. Like that is baby steps. That is what this is. This idea that, well, I'm not gonna, create magic overnight. I'm just gonna bring that inner wealth. I'm just gonna create that connection over something good. Like your ability to find that thing and show up for it, like almost to like shut out all the noise, you know,
Mm.
because especially like you're coming as a social worker with pre-existing families and stories and methods and experiences, and you're coming into situations where there's so much you've been focusing on trying to change, I imagine, and then coming in and being like, no, I'm going to find that thing, and permission to not worry about all the things you're not worrying about, but to be finding those nuggets is just so I don't know. It's strong. It's brave. It's brilliant. It's really beautiful, and it's a special gift. I feel like that you brought to all these families and all these people to be able to find that, like, no matter what. So we just have a few minutes left here, and I'm wondering if you know you could go back maybe to the Buzzy before Nurtured Heart, or those families that you were working with before Nurtured Heart, and just like tell them one thing, tell them one thing. Say like, hey guys, hold up here, pause. I just want to tell you one thing. What would you say? What would you teach?
Well, the Buzzy before Nurtured Heart was pretty sarcastic at times, and that doesn't build relationships. Um, but I don't think I brought that into my work environment. That was more of a me. I'm not. I very rarely am I sarcastic anymore. Um, it it doesn't it doesn't create relationships. So that's the one thing. The me before Nurtured Heart approach. I was sarcastic. I'm no longer sarcastic, or rarely. Well, you know. um, but if I could go back to those families that I worked with before Nurtured Heart approach, I would just say, I'm so sorry I didn't have this for you. Um, because there was so much negativity in those lives. And I honestly believe that I have always looked for what is going right, not with the determination and clarity and uh, the drive that I have now with Nurtured Heart Approach. But that is one thing that I think made me a successful social worker, was because I was capable of seeing things that were going right. Um, I would just say, you know what, you're all functioning. You all did something right. You all were doing the best you were able to do with the skills that you had and the skills that I had. And you know, you're still here. You're still have your family. And that's what's important, is that you are still putting one step in front of the other. And so keep doing that.
I love that. That's beautiful. Thank you so much for this little window into your experience and your incredible um, gift of transformation you've given to the world. And it sounds like yourself as well. If anybody wants to connect with you, what can they expect?
I do individual coaching. And really, one of the fun things, tidbit that you may not know, is your sister was my first coaching client, my very first individual, not working, not, I'm not sure if I was retired when I started with her, but, and I didn't charge anything. I said, I just want to know that I'm sick, that I can do this. And, she took the ball and went running with it. And your whole family has just, it's like fireworks went off and just went off over your family and lightened everything up. It's so wonderful to see. And she did that. She was the one that did the hard work. I gave her the information. I tried to support her best I could. I found those little tidbits, but she did all the work. So she was my first client. And I try not to do too many because I'm retired and I spend a lot of time with my kids. I don't have a fancy website. The best way to get a hold of me is on Facebook, Buzzy Vickers, or my email is vickersgaylene@gmail.com.
And
And
I will put that in the show notes as well, you guys. So you can just check the notes down there and um, find a way to connect with Buzzy. Buzzy, again, thank you so much. I know this is so valuable to our audience, and I will see you all next time.